it's almost as if all of us were not talking about it, but at the same time, all of us had shared experiences. And I kind of feel like if all of us were talking about it openly, that maybe some of us wouldn't have had to have those experiences. My name is Nelson Lugo, and I am a vaudevillian. Due to the collapse of my marriage, I then spiraled into this out-of-control depression, which then created suicidal fantasies, which then got me committed to a mental institution over Valentine's Day. I don't feel the stigma, only because the people around me that knew what was going on were very supportive. Even my father, who I thought would be so stodgy and so, he's very much of the old school Latin machismo era where you don't show anything. Even he said that he was very proud of me, and I think he boiled it down very clearly for me. He said, well, why wouldn't you go? When you have a toothache, you go to the dentist. When you have a stomachache, you go to the doctor. If there's something wrong with your brain, you go to the hospital. Why wouldn't you go? So, I've never been stigmatized by it. No one likes to think about their own mortality, particularly people who have considered suicide as an option. They don't want to be reminded that it's still an option or it was an option for them. And I was that person who thought that was for other people and not for me. I dated a woman who spent some time in a mental institution, and I always had a very selfish, self-centered thoughts about, well, poor her. Obviously, she must be weak in some way. And then it happened to me, I'm like, no, she is just like everyone else, and I am just like everyone else. And, who's to say what's going to trigger someone to be, so depressed that they're going to spiral out of control. And, if you're someone who doesn't get depressed, great, good for you. But for the rest of us who do get blue and get depressed, then yeah, you're human. You're a human being, and that's what happens sometimes. And I am completely cured of that sort of very selfish and small thinking. I kind of hope that my story helps someone who's going through something similar get help sooner, or someone who has a friend who's going through it recognize the symptoms and maybe approach them in a way that maybe the person who's depressed wouldn't approach. After sort of coming out of the crazy closet, as it were, so many of my friends and colleagues have approached me to say, yeah, I have very similar experience. It took me a while to write the story. It took me a while to put it on stage. And I've been told that before about how brave I am. But to be honest, it's like I'm telling you specific things, and I'm very specific about what I say, and I'm also very specific about what I don't say. And so what I'm sharing is the safest story I can tell, because there are parts that I don't want to relive on stage. But I think everybody handles it in their own way, which is why I try to put so much humor into what I do, because I think that helps people sort of take it in a little bit better. I've never had anyone walk up to me after I've told the story and said, you may be uncomfortable, but what I do get more often than not is, thank you for sharing your story, I have a similar one. Or what I end up hearing are other people's hospital stories. And thank you for sharing it. I'm never gonna tell my story, but because of you, it makes me feel better. I'm not alone. And that's what I've learned through all this, is that I am not a unique butterfly. I am not a special snowflake. My pain and my joys are shared by everybody across the world, and that makes it feel real and makes me feel connected.